So, good morning from my part, and I must say that I've been so positively surprised that you guys have been taking this summer to study these very important and interesting things, and also I've been quite overwhelmed by the distinguished speakers that you have been able to gather to this summer school. So I'm going to talk about the EIT Digital Future Cloud Action Line, and I really didn't know how much you know about EIT as such, so it's just a few slides first about EIT Digital. So this is knowledge and innovation community of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, and it has other kicks as well relating to other walks of life, but we are focusing on the formerly we called it the ICT labs, but on the digitalization of the and digital transformation of the world, which we of course feel that this is the most important topics. And the way we do it is that we gather different kinds of research results, technologies, business strategies, and then try to form value-adding activities on top of that to make new business, new jobs for Europe from this. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the regular activities that we are doing and also the high-impact initiatives. And we have I have with me today also leaders of these activities who will talk about a little bit about their what they are doing. So in EIT Digital we are divided into several action lines, and Future Cloud is one of them. But there are several different action lines. I'm gonna show you a little bit more about them in the next slide. But the idea is that we grow through this ecosystem of activities and networks around Europe. And I come from a company called F-Secure, and we already have experienced that this network can give you so much if you join it and collaborate with your partners in Europe. So we truly believe that we can be successful at the European and also global level with these instruments. So you can go and look in the EIT Digital pages more closely what the other action lines are doing. It's ranging from future networking solutions, smart energy systems, smart spaces, to all other kinds of work, such as going towards the health and well-being, cyber physical systems, urban life and mobility, and privacy and security and trust. And what is common to all of these is that they utilize ICT technologies in a smart way. So we are building components for more smarter life. But feel free to have a look what the other action lines are doing in practice. And I mentioned the high impact initiatives. This is a special form of initiatives within the EIT Digital. We want to face some grand challenges that we see that are really important, and we also want to see big impact coming out of these activities. So for a select of the action lines, EIT Digital is investing more into these high impact initiatives. So they are kind of like the spearheads of the action lines to face some special challenges. Markku Kutvonen, leader of the Future Cloud HII, is going to talk more about this trusted cloud and data management. But on the other high impact initiatives there. So in the health and well-being side, it's professionals fit to perform, to help people to cope in the current hectic world. In smart spaces, there's smart retail, giving more intelligence to the retail side, and the cyber physical systems. There's the Industry 4.0, the smart manufacturing and the kinds. And finally, in the urban life and mobility, there's info apps for citizens and visitors. So for these, there's a significant financial contribution by the EIT. This is ranging from 2.5 million to over 3 million yearly. And I think what is also noticeable that how EIT Digital works is that they put some money in as investment, but they also expect some co-funding from the participating companies to help, and then together with this combined money, then you are then executing the initiatives. And by the way, feel free to ask any questions at any time if you feel like it. Another aspect I think that it's quite what I find exciting about the EIT way of working is that I've been working in different kinds of R&D collaboration projects throughout the years and on the national, international level, and many times the difficulty with research is that how do you take the next step towards the market, towards commercializing the results. And typically, if I'm sure that in the audience there are many who have been struggling with this as well, that okay, you might do excellent research, but then how to take the step towards commercializing the results. And I think that here EIT Digital is really one of the very few instruments that are tackling exactly this problem. How to take excellent research results and commercialize them. So whereas as many other initiatives are covering the early parts of the technology readiness levels, from basic research towards the applied research, and then applying the results to the market, EIT Digital is taking the results that are already available and then enhancing them to a form that you can then put them out to the market. And I find this approach excellent. So what we in practice we call that we have carrier projects. Those are the research projects where the research has been made, and then we make catalyst projects out of those. That okay. When we have some excellent research result, then what need we do on top of that to be able to then take it out to the market, and this is the focus of EIT Digital, and so the focus is how to utilize the excellent work and the results that have been made and make a lasting impact to the society. With that, and I find that is quite unique in the world how this is approached. Well then, as you may know, EIT Digital has several locations. We call them co-location centers, CLCs. So there are there are, I guess, total of 9 or 10 different locations, and we are at one of them. I don't know if you already did this expansion that you have planned for the Stockholm site.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe in Luleå. Oh.
Okay. Yeah. So and I come from Helsinki, where we have a nice innovation house in Otaniemi, close to the Aalto University. And as you can see, the size of the co-location centers has been growing through the years. So obviously this is excellent network of operations that we have for around Europe. Well, let's go more closely and look at the Future Cloud action line. What are its mission and priorities? So we want to drive the European competitiveness in the area of cloud services and solutions via the deployment of trusted cloud and big data technology. So we have chosen quite specific focus to advance the things that we feel that are important for future cloud. And why is this? So here's a couple of examples. I mean, I'm sure you have seen similar pictures, but for example, Frost & Sullivan says that the top global megatrends by 2025 are this kind of where the y-axis is how the growth, what is the growth attractiveness, and on the x-side, what is the impact on future products and services, ranging from minor concern to the radical. So here there are many interesting things like personal robotics, 3D printing, wearable computing, and so on. But big data clouds is the one that is considered as having a high growth attractiveness and it's also a radical impact on future products and services. And I'm sure you have seen this.
Sorry, this is about to interrupt, but just what's circular economy?
Circular economy, I think that has to do with the sustainable way of life and how you can do that. So, any other questions on this one? Well, anyway, Frost & Sullivan think that the big data clouds is really an attractive place to be in the future, and I truly agree with that. And what does that mean to top industries of the future? So what is the growth potential, market size potential? And I'm sure these are the kinds of things that you guys are also thinking if you are thinking of engaging into an entrepreneurial career. So as you can see, ICT is on top of the list that where you should go if you really are looking for something that has growth and market size potential. But what is also interesting is that what are the emerging industries. So here we can see that for example 3D printing, big data that is being discussed here, cloud computing, they are all on this top right quadrant here. But also many others are quite as attractive as well. For example, F-Secure, our company, is focused on the cybersecurity, and we feel that's a quite nice place to be for us. So these kind of things, I think it's good to follow that what the analysts are saying about certain industries and the potential, what kind of a competitive situation there is, because I mean some things might be very exciting, but if there's not so much market potential there, then why go there? But
what do the size of the circles mean?
That is the market size. So the bigger the bubble, so the bigger the opportunity.
But the x-axis is already saying market size potential.
Yeah, I interpreted this so that this is also the describing the potential. How the bigger the bubble, the bigger the potential actually is, you could argue then that okay, that this is not the clouds and the big data are not the only things, and I mean I agree. IDC talks about this what they call a third platform. So it's not just cloud or not just big data, but they also combine to that the mobility and the social business, and they claim that this is the combination that you should be looking at, and they say that I think it was even that majority of the investment, over 90% of the investments in the next 10 years will go into the third platform type of solutions. So I think it's good to keep in mind that whereas our focus is on cloud and big data analytics, but really I've also heard here also that the mobility is very important thing, but also at the same time the social aspects. It's not just the social media, but how the social affects business. We all know that if our friends are recommending something, you are more likely to see it out, or if our friend says that, hey, this is crap, don't buy this. This has an impact, and when amplified by the force of the tools that we are using today, this can have dramatic effect. So I think it's good to keep in mind also this social aspect of things.
So Janne, I was just saying it's nice because this summer school also has Marie Curie iSocial. So yeah, so it's combining three out of these four. So that's not good.
Yeah, that's excellent. So
yeah, so I didn't know about this.
Yeah, and by all means, I mean, do collaborate together. I think that the power of getting new things through is by combining different approaches and different points of view. So excellent. So okay. But in future cloud, our chosen priorities are the trusted cloud infrastructures and services, and big data and the cloud. So that's what we have chosen, and let's now talk a little bit more about the different regular activities that we have. So we are fortunate to have the different activity leaders with us here, so I will now shut up and give the floor to them. So please, Marcela, describing the Europa project, so you can use this, just go forward with that. So.
Hello. Okay.
Marcela, can come here.
Yeah. I just want to mention quickly about the Europa project, which is part of this future cloud activities. This is actually one activity that has been there for several years, since 2012, I think. The main goals of this activity has been like two trends in this activity. One is like technology trend, and the other more business oriented. On the technology trend, basically, in the Europa project has been a strong support on the open source Apache Flink, especially at the beginning of the project, and then in the last 2 years have been a little bit more focusing on the business-oriented part. Business-oriented part means that the idea is to try to make that the companies use Flink for solving certain problems in the companies. The partners of the Europa project has been several in the past, but currently in 2015, basically we have 6: TU Berlin, F-Secure, Ericsson, and Atos. 6 and TU Berlin are academic partners, and the others are business partners. And the idea is that apart from some technological aspects that are still being implemented on Flink, the academic partners support the business partners on developing some business use cases. And the important thing here is that in these business use cases we use real data, so it's a real problem that we are trying to solve. So as I say, we have two types of lines. The objectives on the technology side basically continue with the supporting on the advance of Apache Flink technology. Basically, in this year has been concentrated on advances in streaming. Basically, in the latest release of Flink, there was, for example, included fault tolerance in the streaming, which I'm not going to talk that much because you have here already several talks about Flink, and I think tomorrow you will hear a little bit more about the stream.
Yes, tomorrow will be a lot of talk about streaming.
Yeah,
exactly.
So basically, I'm not talking about anything more about Flink because my colleagues have already explained a lot about that. Another thing that we do in Europa is dissemination activities like making tutorials, hackathons, meetups about Flink. Yeah, and as I say, in particular, the academic partners support the business partners. And the objectives in the business direction basically are implement a real business use case. Okay. So, and I just talk briefly about the use cases that we have with Ericsson, with F-Secure, and with Atos. With Ericsson, the idea is to analyze data from their network and their nodes, basically network events. And the idea is to do some sort of analysis on anomaly detection. Here, as well as in, the three business partners are interested on using streaming. So we are moving in that direction. From F-Secure, the idea is to process incoming data from several sources, from the customers' information, from the clients. And the idea is to look for patterns, look for frequent items on the data, in order to do client segmentation, recommender systems, and so on. With Atos, which is a company which already provides service on information technology or digital services to other companies, like, for example, analyzing Twitter data, analyzing sentiment analysis on Twitter data for certain companies. They already do this kind of services. And they are interested in integrate Flink in their big data infrastructure. And as well, they are very much interested on the streaming processing. And with them, they are very much interested on analyzing Twitter information in the coming elections in Spain. So we are, this is very interesting because it's actually real data, and they would like to combine this analysis with other sources of information like interviews, like news, and so on. And apart from that, basically they have a very precise target, which is trying to identify on real time, if possible, influencing people in the coming elections. And basically that they are also trying to do aggregations, both in batch and streaming processing using Flink. So basically these are the three real use cases that we are working in the Europa project for this year. Okay. So that's it for my session.
Hi, can people hear me? Does the mic work? Yeah, okay, great. So good morning, so my name is Peter Pizzo. I'm faculty at Imperial College in London. And I would like to tell you about our activity called MC Data, where we've been working on something called mobile edge clouds. And I'll try to give you a pitch what mobile edge clouds are about and why we are quite excited about that topic. So the particular challenge that we are focusing on is how to enable mobile applications that require very low latency for good user experience. So when you think about pretty much most mobile applications that we use these days rely on internet backend services for the actual data processing. Right? So for example, when you use the Facebook client, it will communicate with the Facebook data center, and this is where all the updates come from. And so latency, round-trip latency to that data center matters. So when you think about a social networking app, well, so maybe 100 milliseconds is not too bad. I mean, users will be happy. But when you consider the types of applications that people are now working on, so for example, real-time augmented reality apps, multiplayer gaming apps on mobile platforms, things like speech recognition, latency suddenly becomes much more important. And we're now talking about latencies below 10 milliseconds that give users good experience. The problem is that with the current cloud model, this is actually very difficult to achieve because the network that is used to connect a mobile application to its backend service can actually be fairly unpredictable. So when you look at typical application deployments, well, so you're using a mobile app and it'll first use a mobile network, right? So it first has to traverse potentially quite a complex mobile network that may add latency. Once it has done that, then the traffic actually needs to be transmitted by internet paths, right? So then you're suffering from any variance in latency that you find on the internet. And only then eventually it'll reach a particular backend data center operated by, well, Facebook, Dropbox, or whoever. So these high internet delays can lead to bad user experience. There's actually another problem here, and that is that for mobile operators, it's actually very difficult to identify new revenue streams. Because in this picture, all they're doing, they're transporting packets from, well, mobile clients to backend services. But they're actually not getting any part of that revenue stream. So they're really just becoming dumb pipes that can't really take advantage of all those new exciting services that are being deployed. So what we've been doing in this activity, we've been exploring something called a mobile edge cloud model. And so the idea here is very simple. So how do you reduce latency to backend services? Well, you can reduce latency to backend services by moving the computation closer to the clients. And this is what we've been doing. So the idea here is that we take some of the backend services that run in internet data centers and actually host them as part of the mobile network. And so by hosting them as part of the mobile network, the network path has become shorter, more predictable, and we can suddenly guarantee lower latency for those mobile applications that use those services. So when you think about this as a new cloud model, where you suddenly have much more hosting locations where services run, that also raises various challenges. So first of all, where do you place those services now, right? Because you're not dealing with, a choice between one of 3 data centers, but potentially you have hundreds of thousands of hosting locations at the edge of your network where services can run. And what makes this even harder, your clients are actually mobile, right? So they roam, they move from location to location, and when they do this, you still want to ensure that the latency stays low. So as clients move around in your network, you potentially also have to migrate those services that you host at the edge. So how can you migrate cloud services in a way that is not visible in terms of the latency impact, right? So this is sort of quite different from the type of service migration that we do in large data centers where you have very fast networks. And so a final challenge is, what is the failure model here, right? So you're now dealing with all of those sites where they can fail at any point in time, and you still want to ensure that your users have a good user experience for their services. So what we've been doing in this activity is addressing those challenges, and we created a dedicated cloud stack for those mobile edge clouds. So it's called MC Compass. So Compass is a European platform as a service cloud stack that was developed at the University of Rennes. And what we've done, we've enhanced it so that it supports a deployment model where some of the services can run at the edge of the network and they're still being maintained by the cloud platform. So services will then automatically migrate as users, for example, change the location where they are in the network. And so the goal is to support future latency-sensitive mobile services. And so the deployment model for MC Compass is that it could run as part of a mobile network, but you could also deploy it as part of a Wi-Fi network, where the services are then co-located with Wi-Fi access points, for example, in a building, giving you predictable low latency. So I want to finish by showing you a quick video of MC Compass in action. So what you can see here is a first-person shooter game with 3 players. So it's running in virtual machines, so you get the view of the 3 players, and then we have an emulated network with various latencies. And so the first-person shooter game relies on a game server, and then the latency that users experience when they play the game depends on the latency that they have to that game server. And sort of the idea is that you want everybody to give consistently low latency so that you have fair gameplay. So what you're going to see here is that so there are 3 players, and the bottom 2 players, so they are simply looking at the top player. Right? So this is the view that the players have of the top player. And so when I start the video, which I hope will be possible, you see that the top player is jumping, and there's a delay what the bottom 2 players see, right? So the actions are delayed because of the high latency to the game server. But then MC Compass decides to migrate the game server. Right, so now the migration has happened, so the game server has moved to a different edge location. Now the latency is lower, and you see that the 2 actions that the lower 2 players observe are now more in sync, so the user experience is better. So this is sort of the general idea. By reducing latency, we can improve fairness in multiplayer games, we can enable new kinds of applications. Thank you. Questions?
Just to make sure that I understand it correctly, please. What about the computational latency? For example, the way I understand it, you only address a certain portion of latency, which is the transmission on the mostly wired part of the network. In the case of a single user or 3 users, maybe it won't matter, but if you have thousands of users, you would need as powerful servers in your edge cloud. Is it feasible to invest that much?
Right, so this is a really good question. That obviously one of the benefits of a large data center is that you can scale out your computation, and therefore you can achieve low latency because you have resources available in that data center. Once you move computation closer to the edge, you're cutting the network latency, but you actually have fewer resources available at the edge. Right, so this is this is a challenge in this model. So what this pretty much means that you still require your backend internet data centers, right? So you want to do the heavy lifting where you have a lot of computational resources available. But actually, often in applications such as multiplayer gaming, the actual latency sensitive part of the application is not very computation intensive. Right, so for example, what the game server here is doing is simply collecting all of the input events from all the players that are in a given vicinity of the game space, and is broadcasting those events back to the players, right? So you can scale to actually a fairly large number of players if all that is happening at the edge is just that operation. Right? But still, if there are some operations that are then computationally more expensive, you then still need to go back to the internet data center and run the computation there. Right? So you can't move all of your service to the edge, but you can move a portion to it without sacrificing scalability. Another question.
So Peter, one of the challenges that will arise is if your edge users are geographically dispersed, right? So the question then arises is, where do you localize the computation?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so this is one of the things that our cloud middleware does, right? So it essentially what it creates a latency map of the network, and then it tries to find the optimal edge location for the given client workload that you have that shares a particular service within the network, right? So for example, if you have 2 clients that are far apart from each other, in network latency terms, it may be best to simply put the server somewhere in between those two clients, in the middle of them, so that both clients experience the same latency. Right? So obviously, if you have if you have globally distributed clients, you will not be able to give them very low. You will not be able to, for each client, to have very low latency if the service ultimately relies on some kind of shared state or coordination between the clients. But at least you can reduce the variance that different clients will experience when they talk to that backend service, right? Which is important for gaming.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Good. Seems to be, I have a strange echo in my ears, so somebody must be hearing
It's
me.
fine.
It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm here to talk about the Future Cloud High Impact Initiative, which is the, as Janne said, the spearhead of Future Cloud Action Line. It's by nature, it's a bit of a different project than these activities that the others have been explaining. This is focusing more on creating an ecosystem on existing technologies, existing stuff, and enhancing them to create loosely coupled elements to create trust in the European solutions. And so bringing more choices for SMEs and even consumers to choose what services they want to use. So this is, Janne showed the numbers already, so this is a total of 5 million euro activity. 3 million is coming from EIT and the rest is co-funded by the partners. And the goal is to really find ways for companies and consumers to find, get understanding and trust for where their data is, where it's stored, and how to provide security by European vendors. We believe that European trust has value and that the ecosystem has value for everybody who joins the ecosystem. Apple is playing ecosystem game. Apple has been also doing this very active promotion of you can trust us, we know what we are doing by encrypting their phones, etc. So we believe in the same thing. The current partners consists of several, of course, does this red thing work? Yeah, it works. So EIT Digital is our sponsor, of course. Then we have the core group of partners, industrial partners, F-Secure, Telecom Italia, British Telecom, Thales, Ericsson. And then research partners, we have Digital Catapult from UK, IMT from France, Trento Rise, FPK from Italy, VTT from Finland, and CNR and Polyvi from Italy. So all of these, and Nestholm are being part of the startup acceleration coaching program. So all of these partners are together then creating the basis for everybody to join the ecosystem. And currently we have 8 SMEs who have been started now in June full force to integrate to different services that the ecosystem has. Now, this is the ecosystem picture. Looks a bit complex, but it's actually very, very simple in the sense that we have like 3 layers where we have multiple platform providers. In 2016, this baseline, this kind of a platform provider basis is growing. And this on top of these platforms, we are creating these loosely coupled elements. We call them trust plugins or trust enablers. And for example, F-Secure will be providing now in the first phase, we will provide a way to check reputation of a URL or a file. So basically you calculate a file hash, you send it to us through our APIs, and we give you an answer if it's a good file or bad file. So that actually increases value directly to your customers, because whatever solutions you are selling to your customers, you can say that we know that we are not sending bad malicious files to you, or we are not distributing bad malicious links with our services. BT is adding encryption, key handling, email services, and Telecom Italia is working heavily on personal data stores type of things. we will be adding most likely IoT type of services also to the Trust plugins. And on top of these Trust plugins, we will then have consumer services, SME services, corporate services, and also possibly governmental services in the future. So this year, actually this project has been running roughly 1 year now. And the ecosystem picture started actually forming now in the springtime. And and the whole year will be focusing on bringing the technologies together, finding the ways of giving the loosely coupled APIs to our users. And next year will be then focusing on really finding the customers and the businesses who want to join the ecosystem. So we have several business development approaches. Of course, the core partners are developing their own business with their own business development skills. The SMEs that are joining will be using the SME business acceleration helped by the core partners and the coaches in EIT Digital. And then the HII will have its own strategic goals boosting via EIT Digital and the business communities that we have. And we hope we can get like multiple ways of creating and proving the trust. So coaching of practices. So SMEs are not the most advanced ones on knowing how to create secure solutions. And building on top of the trust enablers that we have. And then also trainings on legislation and standards and privacy and all this kind of stuff. European privacy legislation is changing currently, and all of this we need to keep track on and what is happening there. So it's not only about technology, it's really about like creating an ecosystem that supports each other all the time while creating their own business. So end of 2016, we hope to have a lot of impacts like value-added services for the SMEs or by the SMEs all over Europe and of course globally. Wide range of trust enablers following the modern threat trends. Then a knowledge adoption community to help everybody build on the trusted services. And then long-term plan on how to influence EU regulation and how to certify trust. Of course, everybody asks like, why should I trust you? If you ask from an American guy, why would an American guy trust a European service? So we have to prove it. So that's it in a nutshell. Questions?
Yes, so this is the Future Cloud action line, and you can see that there's many things ongoing and a lot of activities, and I'm so happy that I could get the active leaders with me today here to talk to you. This doesn't happen very often, so but well, any questions or comments on this?
Currently, I guess you're funded by the European Union. How long will this funding continue? Do you know that in some way, or how does it work? How long is the program in some way?
Yeah, so there's this talk ongoing on sustainability. So we want all that all these activities are self-sustained at some point, and currently EIT Digital is working on the different kind of models how this would work, and I think that it's next year, or I think that the contract will end for this period of time that the EIT is funding us, and after that I think that the new models will have to be in place, and there's currently a lot of activities ongoing to find out what are the models for the future for the sustainability of this type of activities, and I think that I hope that we will find ways, because I truly believe that what the EIT Digital is doing is something unique as compared to many other approaches, and I hope that we will find ways to continue, but it's currently a very hot topic.
A question about the final presentation. I saw a lot of SMEs were involved, and is there an interest to keep the ecosystem strictly European? And if yes, what happens if any of those SMEs get bought by like large corporations, and it happens a lot if they are successful?
Okay, there are no strict rules that we have defined in these kind of cases. Let's put it this way, this activity started with F-Secure United Platform. And United Platforms planned to be one trust element. It was created in Europe, hosted in Europe, but guess what? It was bought by an American company, Sullivan, and it's not anymore part of this activity. And that was actually a mutual agreement. They didn't want to continue and so on. But of course, like if you are bought as an SME by an American company, you have to prove your trust. If you can't prove your trust, then I guess it's time to go. But we don't have, like, we haven't even thought about these kind of scenarios. I think the valid question that was presented before was like how to create sustainability. So now all the companies joining are enjoying the EIT funding. We hope to have next year really evidence that there are partners who want to join the ecosystem as such without any funding. They find value being part of the ecosystem. And that's kind of at the threshold point when we see that will this whole thing fly or not. And that's when the high impact happens. So far, the happy thing, of course, with this is that the money is not wasted anyway. So a lot of good things are happening with the money that are given for funding. So there will be SMEs that are increasing their own business, etc. But the high impact is really dependent on the marketing capabilities of me or anybody who is part of the activity, how to make the sustainability happen. So there are companies joining the ecosystem because they find value and are really willing to pay for it. And of course, every single industrial partner believes that their part of the trust elements are such, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. But of course, only time tells.
All right, so if you don't have any more questions, then let's thank Janne and all the speakers.